Hey everyone, Couch Investor here with another video for you today. In today's video I'm going to talk about Workhorse. Is it worth the hype? I'm going to discuss why the stock has risen so much this year and why it can even rise further in the short term and especially in the longer term. I'm going to go over the graphs and of course my own conclusion at the end of this video. I have covered two other EV stocks recently, one called Arkimoto and the other Hyliion. If you haven't watched those videos, they're going to pop up in the top right corner. And if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing to support this channel. And if you like those videos, consider leaving an early thumbs up as it really helps me outgrow the channel and get my videos out there. So without further ado, let's dive into this. Right, so for those of you that don't know Workhorse, they manufacture electric powered delivery and utility vehicles, basically those last mile delivery vehicles that you see for USPS or UPS or FedEx, etc. Although they are EV vehicles, do not confuse them with other EV manufacturers, because other EV makers like Tesla, NIO, let's say Nikola, Hyliion, Arkimoto, etc., they are doing this for the individual or for other specific market segments. For Workhorse, it's specifically for the last mile delivery segment, which is pretty big as we can see here. More than 350,000 of last mile delivery vehicles are being purchased by US fleets annually. The average sales price for last mile delivery vehicles is $50,000 and the annual addressable market size for last mile delivery vehicles in the US is approximately $18 billion, which is a huge opportunity for Workhorse if they can obviously scale up and get those vehicles on the road. As of now, they only have two types of vehicles, the C650 and the C1000. Those numbers are the cubicle space that those vehicles have. The C1000 is exactly the same space as the USPS van that are being used today. And besides those two vehicles, they have a drone called Horsefly. So the Horsefly is Workhorse name for the autonomous 4-rotor drone. With a Horsefly drone, it can make deliveries more cost effective. It's like basically having an extra delivery man for that last mile delivery. The drone is 4 cents per package after some calculations. Now, of course, there are some cons and pros for this type of delivery. First of all, there's lots of competition in the drone market. Amazon, FedEx, UPS, everyone is trying to, Boeing and Airbus as well, is trying to replicate the same thing, have a drone deliver your packages. I think Amazon is leading that race, like every race in the retail segment. And for now, I don't see really people getting their packages delivered by drones. It would be cool, like we've seen in the video. It could be amazing, but as of now, I've seen so many questionable things about that delivery. What happens when there's a storm, when it's raining, when there's too much wind, etc. I don't want my package to be dropped in the middle of the street. I want it just in front of my door. How could that be achieved, etc. But that is something that will probably be tested with trial and error, etc. But as of now, I don't see really the drone bringing too much revenue to this company or to any other company for that matter. But it's good to see that they're already focusing on the next thing for that last mile delivery. But as of now, I would like them to focus on delivering more of those vehicles, those C650 and C1000, to more and more clients out there. We're going to discuss that right now. So here are the couple of opportunities and things that Workhorse has already been doing right in the last couple of years and especially this year as well. So first up, we have that deal with UPS that was, I think, 2 to 3 years ago. So UPS has ordered 1,000 vehicles back in 2017, maybe early 2018, but the only problem is that UPS has only acquired 350 vehicles since then. That means that there are 650 vehicles short of that order. Whether they'll complete that order this year, next year, or in the next couple of years, I don't know, but it's a small concern that even a small order of 1,000 vehicles for 2 to 3 years has not been fulfilled yet, especially for a big company like UPS. So that's something to keep in mind. Next up is the whole Lordstown deal, merger, whatever you want to call it. Lordstown is that whole story in Ohio that have acquired this old General Motor factory to keep jobs in Ohio, something that Trump really wanted to happen and actually happened and supported it to its fullest extent. That's something I think positive as long as he stays president. But for Workhorse, this means that they got some equity from that deal. So in exchange for providing intellectual property to Lordstown, Workhorse had received an ownership stake of about 10% in its fellow electric truck maker. It is estimated that Lordstown would be worth $1.6 billion after going public, making Workhorse's stake worth $160 million. Finally, the CEO noted that Lordstown, which has received pre-orders worth $1.4 billion, had agreed to pay Workhorse a 1% royalty on the first 200,000 vehicles sold. It will also receive a 4% commission on 6,000 Workhorse W15 pre-orders that had been transferred to it. At first I thought those numbers looked pretty good, especially since Workhorse was just starting to get some traction, but after looking at more of those numbers, this royalty fee and even their 10% stake isn't really going to affect Workhorse that much, seeing that their market cap right now is $1.7 billion, so that $140 million in royalty or in equity is not really going to affect them that much in a positive way, especially not in a negative way, but in a positive way it's not really going to help them in the future. They're probably going to have to raise more capital to up production anyways. Next up is the Ryder contract, which is pretty weird that people got excited about that because they only ordered 2 vehicles as of now, 2 C1000 vehicles. I hope this partnership, and I think that's what the CEO said as well, he hopes these partnerships will bring more orders in the longer term, but as of now you shouldn't really be so excited about that news because it's only 2 vehicles that have been ordered for the Ryder company, which is pretty weird because it's something that shouldn't really be on the news anyways, ordering 2 vehicles, but hey, nowadays with EV stocks every little detail gets some news traction, and that can be positive but can also be negative because every negative thing that will happen to Workhorse, for example, is going to get more coverage because negative news always gets more attention. And lastly, we have the biggest one, in my opinion, the biggest reason why this stock has risen so much and why I think this stock can rise even further, and that's the USPS contract worth $6.3 billion, 160,000 vehicles. Now, it always gets pushed further and further, the deadline day and the announcement day. As of now, there are only 3 or 4 companies left for that contract, but in my opinion, there's not going to be one company that gets the full $6.3 billion. That would be actually crazy, especially for scaling purposes. I don't think Workhorse can handle those 160,000 vehicles right now. Even if they get just a small portion of the contract or the contract gets split into 3, it would still mean that Workhorse gets a deal worth twice as much as their current market cap, and that's why I think if they get the contract or part of the contract, they would probably rise in price, probably double, even triple in the short term, especially also in the longer term, but it would be a quick start, a right push in the right direction for them. But as of now, I would like to see Workhorse get more orders, get more vehicles on the road like Archimoto. The more vehicles on the road they can get, the better it will be, the more people it will attract, and probably the orders will get bigger than those 2 vehicles that they just delivered to Ryder. As for the drones, they can keep it in the background, try and perfect it, test, trial and error, maybe work with other companies to make that even better and bigger. I do see Workhorse actually maybe partnering up with companies like FedEx, Amazon, Walmart, etc. in the future, but as of now, like I said with Archimoto and like I said with Workhorse, they need to start producing more vehicles and get more partnerships out there, because as of now there's not enough, there aren't enough Workhorse vehicles out there. The orders are way too low. Even the one with UPS is pretty disappointing. From the 1,000 vehicles ordered, only 350 of them have been acquired as of now, so I would like to see that number grow. Now, before I conclude this video, let's go and look at the graphs real quick. All right, so I drew this support line here at $14.50 or so a couple of days ago, I think last week or so. We can see that this is a line that was supported perfectly even the last couple of days when we've seen the highs of almost $20 go back to the lowers of 14.70 cents or something like that, and then it made its way up to around $18, failed there, and then we're going back around this price right here. Now there will be, I think, a mini support line at around $16. So if that were to happen, I would see the stock bounce off that support line right here, and then there is major resistance at $19 or so. If we would like to go over to the $20 marks like here, it will need to break that for sure, and a strong green candle. What could be the catalyst for that is probably the USPS contract. All right, so to conclude, as of now, I don't own any Workhorse stock. I might be buying some in the next coming weeks or so if that gets to those support lines at 16 or maybe 14, $15 or so, but that doesn't really matter. I just want to hear more concrete news on that USPS contract deal if that ever happens. But as of now, the valuation is pretty high because the expectations are very high. For a company with a market cap of close to $2 billion, having sales in a quarter of only $92,000 is pretty low, and the valuation is pretty high because of those high expectations. But again, do not compare Workhorse to other EV stocks, because Workhorse is very specific to that last mile delivery market, which is, like we've seen, pretty big, around $18 billion or so. So even without that USPS contract, if they play their cards correctly, I could see that company grow further, but in the longer term, that is partnerships with FedEx, UPS, let's see, maybe Amazon wants to use them, etc. With their drone technology, who knows who they can partner up with. But again, I am positive on Workhorse, even though I think the valuation right now, today, is pretty high. And that will be it for this video. If you liked it, consider leaving a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, why not subscribe? It's free. And as always, guys, take care, stay safe, and see you all in the next video. Bye bye.